New details on the murder of Benton Harbor High School grad and Army Staff Sergeant Tyrone Hassel III.
I need help. I need help. My husband was shot. I need help.
I prayed for the best, but I knew my son was dead.
In the quiet town of St. Joseph Township, Michigan, where no one would have expected such a horrible tragedy to take place, a soldier is murdered in cold blood after being shot 5 times by an unknown killer. On New Year's Eve 2018, Sergeant Tyrone Hassel III was killed outside the house of a close relative. The facts surrounding how his death was coordinated will shock you. Welcome to Felonious Facts. If you're here for the first time, please subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell beside it so you will get notifications whenever I upload new content. And if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. In today's video, we'll be talking about the murder of Sergeant Tyrone Hassel, who was shot to death on New Year's Eve 2018. Tyrone Hassel was a 23-year-old Army officer who was still in active duty when he was killed. He was born on August 23, 1995, to Tyrone Hassel Jr. and LaShonda Jones. He excelled in high school and graduated with honors in 2013. He joined the Army after college and was in the service until his untimely death. Before he died, he was promoted to sergeant and given numerous awards for his service. On May 17, 2017, while in the Army, he married a fellow soldier, Camilla Martin, who served as an Army specialist. He, his wife, Camilla Hassel, and their 1-year-old son had been staying with his father, Tyrone Hassel Jr., in his house in St. Joseph Township, Michigan. They had been on assignment in Georgia with another soldier named Jeremy Queller before the holidays, and were on their holiday leave when the incident took place. He had come home from an event to drop some food off for Camilla and his son, when the unthinkable happened, as he stepped outside to go back to his vehicle. As he turned towards his vehicle, someone walked up behind him and shot him 5 times at close range. His wife was the one that called 911 to report the shooting, hollering, "I need help! My husband was shot!" while in tears. The paramedics rushed to the scene to treat him. After the treatment at the scene, they rushed him to the hospital where he took his last breath. Tyrone had been shot in the neck area and his head at close range. The police investigation uncovered that his belongings were still on him at the scene, which caused them to rule the motive of robbery out. They continued to try and figure out who would have wanted to walk up and pump so many bullets into Mr. Hassel, but nobody could think of an enemy or individual who would commit such an act. It all seemed so personal, like a targeted hit, and it was clear whoever pulled the trigger wanted to make sure he was dead. For almost 2 weeks, family and friends grieved. Tyrone's wife stayed back with her father-in-law, grieving for her husband, until the police came knocking one day with a warrant for her arrest. As leads were cold, and there weren't any bystanders that could provide an eyewitness account of the murder, the police needed a break. That break came when someone gave the investigators a tip.
I also have a military son. He was very distressed about the situation. You guys should look at the wife.
It turns out a fellow soldier advised the investigators that they should take a look at Tyrone's wife, as she and a third soldier were reportedly having an affair behind Mr. Hassel's back. The third soldier in question turned out to be Jeremy Queller, and the tip turned out to be credible. As a result of the tip, Camilla Hassel and Jeremy Queller were both arrested as suspects in the crime. Immediately after they were taken into custody, the police began an investigation that uncovered bullets, similar to those taken out of Mr. Hassel, along with other weapons in Jeremy's car. These items were found a month later in February, but at this time, both Jeremy and Camilla maintained they were innocent. However, after multiple hours and sessions of police interrogation, Camilla later on attested to the fact that she and Jeremy Queller had plotted and executed the murder of Sergeant Tyrone Hassel, her husband. This took place after she had failed a lie detector test. She said that they had done it so that they could be together and receive the Army's $400,000 life insurance benefit. When probed further, she admitted that she had given Queller multiple updates about her husband's whereabouts so that he could gun him down. As she confessed, the two talked about plotting on getting Mr. Hassel out of the picture, but they ultimately decided that they would work the details out between December 19th to December 31st, 2018. According to her testimony, Jeremy Queller had come to Michigan 4 times to meet with her so they could plan the process of Tyrone's murder, but most of the conversations had taken place on Snapchat. It turns out the two believed that Snapchat was the best choice because of the feature that makes chats disappear after 24 hours. But they had no idea that the police could get their hands on the chats and implicate them with them. Kemia Hassel did not take the stand at trial and was later found guilty of conspiracy and first-degree murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without parole on August 2019, almost a year after her husband's death. At the court, when the verdict was delivered, Berrien County Chief Assistant Prosecutor Steve Pirangelli said after the verdict was delivered, "Justice was served, but we still lost. The Army lost a good soldier. Tyrone's father lost a good son." The victim's mother, who was embittered by the whole incident, said this in the court to Kemia. "I want you to spend every day suffering behind bars for the rest of your life. And I hope that every time you close your eyes, my son taps you on the shoulder and smiles." The victim's father says that he didn't expect Kemia to be the one behind his son's death. He said throughout the beginning states of the investigation, he had gone out of his way to comfort her, even though he was hurt too. He was unable to fathom how his son's wife, who he had let into his home, who lived under the same roof with him and his son, could not only allow someone to murder her husband, but also assist in ensuring the killer had Tyrone's whereabouts to complete the ambush. Her called her a devil in his interview with the press after the court verdict. In September, soon after Kemia's sentence, her partner in crime was sentenced to 65 years in prison. But before he went to prison, he reached out to Tyrone's father, begging him to have a call with him. He promised to plead guilty to second-degree murder if he agreed to speak to him. Tyrone's father agreed to this, and they had a recorded conversation where Jeremy explained the murder and other details more specifically. During the interview, Jeremy Queller opened up to Tyrone's father about everything that had happened with Kemia even before his son died. He said that he had been planning to divorce his wife at one point and had fallen in love with Kemia after starting a romantic relationship with her. He and the Hassels had been working actively in South Korea where they were stationed at that time. He even attested to getting attached to Tyrone and Kemia's baby, whom he nicknamed Chunk. Throughout the interview, he apologized to Tyrone's father and claimed to have been manipulated by Kemia into doing what he did. He said that he had been so broken with personal issues, and she had been there for him, so he thought that she was his life. However, during the interview, when he heard that she had told the police and investigators that he didn't care one bit for her or her son, he was quite surprised. When asked why he agreed to murder Tyrone when he had done nothing wrong to him, he said that his motive wasn't even the same as Kemia's, who just wanted money from Tyrone's life insurance. He said that all he wanted was a family with her because he wanted kids. He said that she had manipulated him into believing that they could only be together if he agreed to her plans and ended her husband's life. The victim's father said that he did feel some sort of sympathy for his son's murderer, but he wondered how they both thought that they could kill his son and get away with it. He asked Jeremy, "After all that, you all thought that you all could live happily ever after?" He also asked him how he thought they'd both be able to trust each other after the murder, to which Jeremy replied that he hadn't thought the whole thing through. He said that his mind was more focused on the 5 kids she had promised him. Investigations show that Jeremy Queller had been in Benton Harbor 4 times to kill the victim, but hadn't succeeded at it. However, Jeremy says that he had indeed tried 6 times, and that the actual murder turned out the way it did because Kemia and he had gotten into an argument where she had rejected him. This motivated him to carry out the murder, and this is why he fired so many shots. He claimed to have been frustrated by the argument and angry too, because he had been away from his family for over a year, trying to do Kemia's dirty bidding, and she was saying she didn't want to see him because he hadn't been successful at it. So he had gone ahead with it and gotten himself in trouble for it. He apologized to the Army, saying that it was the best thing that happened to him. He admitted that the whole process had been a very foolish one. He also said that the problem with him wasn't his upbringing. According to him, he had been raised right, but he still had some demons he was battling with. He claims to have opened up to Kemia and said that she had taken advantage of him. He said he regretted all his actions. However, in July 2020, Queller broke his promise and attempted to withdraw his guilty plea. He appealed to 2 courts in Michigan, one of them being the Michigan Supreme Court, where his request was later on denied in August 2021. When Tyrone Hassel Jr. heard what Jeremy Queller had done, he said that the move made him feel like he had been slapped on his face. He said that he hadn't forgiven Jeremy, but at least he thought that the murderer had felt any iota of guilt and remorse over his son's death. But now he was sure he wasn't repentant at all. When asked why he had agreed to go see his son's murderer in 2019, Tyrone Hassel Jr. said that it was his only chance to hear the truth, even though it was only one part of it, and he doesn't regret taking it. In 2021, Kemia Hassel pleaded for another court hearing, appealing to the court to revisit her case. She claimed that her ex-attorney did not represent her properly, and that she had been suffering from battered partner syndrome. Battered partner syndrome is a type of PTSD that affects women and men who have been in abusive relationships in the past. Many women who have been convicted for killing their partners have claimed to have this syndrome and have been let off by the government for it. In her plea for reconsideration, she claimed that Tyrone had been physically, emotionally, and verbally abusive to her extensively throughout their marriage. But the court stood its ground despite her excuses and refused to change anything, so she continued with her previous sentence. Tyrone's father didn't take it lightly, though. He was angry at the fact that Kemia didn't just kill his son, but was also trying to spoil his reputation. He said that Sergeant Tyrone Hassel had been a local hero in his community, and that Kemia's allegations were aimed at spoiling his image. He then referred to the video footage from one of her interviews with the police, where she denied ever being hit by Tyrone. The footage was captured in 2019, and in it, the police officer had asked if she was being battered, and she denied it twice. Instead, she admitted that Jeremy Queller had even put his hands on her before, while they were still together. Tyrone Hassel was described by family members as a jovial person who enjoyed life. He loved his family and was dedicated to anything he set his mind to doing. They said that he loved having a good time, no matter what he was doing, and that they'll cherish the memories that he left behind. He is survived by 9 siblings, 7 brothers and 2 sisters, a son, his wife, and his parents. Now that we've come to the end of this video, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments section. What do you think was the real reason Kemia plotted her husband's murder? Do you think she really has borderline personality disorder? Or was it indeed her greed? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. Don't forget to like this video and share it with the people you know who may enjoy this content as well. It helps the channel grow and allows me to create this content for you in the future. Catch you in the next video.